So it's Friday, the 13th of December in the year 2024. I wish I was somewhere in Georgetown, Guyana. Warm weather. The weather here right now is cool, at least for my liking. Probably somewhere around 30 something degrees. And it's only around 10 minutes past 4. By the time we get to 5 p.m., this place is going to be dark, almost night. I was telling an American work colleague where I work, I said, man, it's hard to believe we only have 12 days more to go for the Christmas Day to be on us. And there's 18 days more to go before the ending of 2024. Um, I guess 2025, a lot of expectations for a lot of us, a lot of dreams, whatever. Anyhow, let me get straight into it. I only have one video. I looked at the JAGDIO's press conference yesterday, but I wanted to focus today on the PNC's press conference, which was hosted by the young lady that normally is there, the moderator. I can't remember her name right now, but she had three participants: the opposition leader Aubrey Norton, the GTU, that's the Guyana Teachers Union General Secretary, and PNC Member of Parliament CORRETA McDonald. You also have the Central Committee Executive Member and Member of Parliament GANESH MAHIPAUL. Those three were alongside the moderator. And as I said, I'm just targeting some talking points. I must say, maybe today this is one of probably one of the most hard-hitting press conferences by the opposition leader. Norton is saying that the present PPP government is the most corrupt government in the history of Guyana. Not me saying that that's what Aubrey Compton Norton said today, leader of the opposition, leader of the PNC. He also went on in that same breath to say that the next government in waiting, which is the coalition, if and when they get into power, they're going to straighten out the things like the procurement commission. They're going to try to stop or stem the massive corruption that is taking place, especially in the awarding of contracts. He cites an example of a place like Buxton, where contracts were awarded to these small contractors under a certain amount in terms of millions. He says that the small contractors could never get their hands on these big $1 million contracts. And I am going to be playing the video, the section where the opposition leader says that the PPP government is the most corrupt in the history of Guyana. You don't believe me? Well, just look and listen.
10 days workers are forced to attend PPP activities. This is a clear violation of their human rights. The right to good health and education continues to decline as qualified educators and healthcare workers flee the country for a better life abroad. The existence of discrimination based on race and political affiliation cannot be seen as being on the decrease. In fact, it is on the increase. The secretive PPP has made it a struggle for the public and others stakeholders to access information on government affairs. State institutions such as the Guyana Police Force and GCOM have become politicized and are no longer trusted by citizens. The list goes on. In contrast, as the next government, we will give force to Article 41 of the Constitution, which states, and I quote, "Every person in Guyana is entitled to the basic right to a happy, creative, and productive life, free from hunger, ignorance, and want. That right includes the fundamental rights and freedoms of the individual. In terms of PPP corruption in high offices, this has become endemic and normalized. The award of contract is now a criminal enterprise. PPP's elite friends, families, and favorites, a fact admitted in July by VP Barajak himself. In addition, the public officials who are involved in these widespread acts of corruption are either PPP connected, PPP appointed, or PPP by membership. Empatab is a classic example of this. Billions of dollars are being diverted to the bank accounts of corrupt PPP politicians and the public officials who serve them. We therefore challenge the government to show what it has done since 2020 to promote human rights and anti-corruption. Minister Teixeira referred to the hosting of several training programs and workshops for staff as a crowning achievement. But as any citizen can tell her, it requires more serious efforts than that. As the next government, we will confront corruption head-on by, for example, revamping the public procurement system, beefing up the Auditor General's office, by giving teeth to the Access to Information Act, and by ensuring that the PAC functions effectively. As we see it, therefore, the recent government's Human Rights and Anti-Corruption Expo was just an exercise in PPP self-delusion and political propaganda. The PPP is the most corrupt government ever in the history of Guyana.
So I also noted that the government signed an agreement with the Guyana Public Service Union. I must say I have some memories of that PSU sports club, the one in New Gardner, Regent Street, as well as the complex. I think it is probably falling down now, opposite Ingano. One of the most memorable times I could remember working with the Ministry of Agriculture. I worked there for about 5 years. I think it's between 1990 and 1995. Around that time, I worked at the Ministry of Agriculture in the planning department. And I have some fond memories of that PSU club where when I got on there as a rookie, they took me to the PSU club. They introduced me for the first time to brandy. And that taste is not a taste that I like, I admire. So apparently the PSU and the government, to me, like they had some secret collective bargaining talks, because I never heard about these talks until I saw photographs on Facebook yesterday of the PSU vice president shaking the hands of Ashni Singh. And then I also saw the government wrapping up 10% agreement with Guy Soko. So I said to myself, but the government, like they're moving quickly to neutralize these different places. Anyhow, the GTU General Secretary and also PNC Member Parliament CORRETA McDonald was also at today's press conference, and some of the things that I like to highlight she was saying is that the government in waiting, the coalition government, they're going to offer public servants a 35% increase in salaries and a $400,000 per month income tax ceiling, among other measures to stem the rising cost of living. They're saying that she's saying that there are over 20,000 public sector as well as private sector workers, and some of these measures they would like to introduce would go a very long way if in terms of the cost of living. She's saying that even before the $100,000 is being shared out, the cost of living, especially in the market and that kind of stuff, prices were going up. So she's saying now, with people receiving these monies, imagine what's going to happen. So the The executive member and MP Ganesh and Manipur also spoke about alleged corruption, especially where that's his favorite area, Region 3. He spoke about people getting contracts um, illegally. He's also saying that Ganesh Mahipaull is also alleging that the contractors are crying out about a 10% kickback that they have to give. As I said, this is an allegation, and maybe he probably knows the sources of that information where the contractors are saying that they have to give a 10% kickback. Before I go, let me see that you enjoy your Friday evening. I know it's kind of cold, blustery. I was on the road today, and I just tried to get about doing my business and to get back home. This weather is a bit too cold for me, and like I said, I wish I was somewhere down in Georgetown, Guyana, to enjoy some of that beautiful sunshine in Guyana. Though my daughter was telling me that she heard there was some bit of rain, but that doesn't matter. Anyhow, enjoy this video.
This abuse of the quotation method of awarding contracts is not only blatantly undermining the principles of fair and transparent bidding, but it is also systematically denying countless contractors a fair share of the pie. More alarming, this practice is funneling millions of dollars into the pockets of politically connected friends, families, and favorites of the PPPC. It must also be noted that many of these contractors have come forward, bitterly complaining that for every contract awarded, they are coerced into paying a 10% kickback as a bribe to PPPC ministers and their cronies. The level of corruption in Guyana is at an all-time high, and unless Irfan Ali's regime demonstrates a genuine commitment to confront this issue head-on, it will only spiral further out of control. The people of Guyana deserve better, and it is high time that those in power are held accountable for perpetuating this abuse of public resources. Thank you.
Yes, my question is a simple one for anybody at the airfield. Recently, there were the awards of contracts to people who weren't qualified. For example, in Sophia, a lot of people get a road building contract, including Sharon Das Prasad, who admitted that he had known nothing but road building. No problem. What I found out is that in the award of these contracts, the people with no equipment, no experience, no nothing, got the contract, and they in turn subcontracted it to people close to the PPP who had equipment and what have you. What's your reaction, sir?
Now,
Anybody?
let me say what the PPP is hoping that we'll condemn it, so they're running those communities and say, you see, they want you to get a contract. Being politically stupid. We will engage people and say to them, in large measure, you are being used. No ordinary person has been given a contract over 60 million. While every time a PPP person gets a contract is 900 and something million, 600 and something million. So we're not being fooled. We are well aware. I know, for instance, in Linden, they give some, and they themselves telling me, no, you can't do it, but we got people for do it. So this government is a complete joke. It reminds me of Irfan Ali trying to be Michael Jackson. Look, this is a political ploy. Election is coming, and they don't mind wasting money just to say they give African Guyanese contracts, etc. They went in Buxton, and they give 6 bridge contract, and they left the people to do it. But none of the contracts they could have made more than $300,000. So it didn't make sense. This government is putting up a facade. They have no interest in resources going to the people of Guyana. And what they are doing is appearing, because election is coming, to be non-discriminatory, and they find a backdoor way of getting the very money back to their support, the key supporters. So our task is to educate people, let them understand that this thing is not aimed at helping them. It's first a political ploy, and secondly, an avenue to say there is no discrimination, and third, another mechanism to get money to their supporters by giving people road and other contracts which they know they don't have equipment for, and therefore it will go straight back to the PPP. That is the game. Any child can work it out. That is what the PPP is up to. Their aim is not to put money in the hands of the people of Guyana. The aim is to create a facade. It's the same thing with the corruption in the police force. People make some noise, they get charged. I don't know anything can happen with the case, because if the case is to be pursued top to bottom heading for jail, and they can't afford that. And if the top to bottom heading for jail, they can now expose the government. The government can afford that. This become a classic case of hand washing hand. Because if one hand fails to wash a hand and talk, the whole government would collapse.